Last night, after a quarter-century of waiting, the final batch of records related to the President John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act of 1992 was released to the public. Response from the transparency community so far has been underwhelming, to put it mildly. 12. This is mostly my attitude so far of reading through all these new JFK files, realizing what is still missing. Pic.twitter.com 1QMGNCMHLR, Mark S. Zaid at Mark Zydisk October 27, 2017. At the last minute, the most eagerly anticipated records were withheld for another 180 days review. The CIA's JFK files include 151-page transcript of the 91,275 Church Committee testimony of James Angleton. It was not released. Jefferson Morley at Jefferson Morley October 27, 2017. While some of the supposedly new releases had been previously declassified, some for decades, and still others were, in the words of National Archives' own metadata, illegible. All of which begs the question why, 50 years after JFK's death, should we have waited so long to get so little of what should have already been available to the public in the first place? Biggest takeaway from JFK files RLS will be that vast majority of classified historic docs can be RLS-ED with no harm and much benefit. NSA Nate at NSAN at October 26, 2017. Muckrick previously dealt with this question when it came to CREST, Central Intelligence Agency's declassified archives. For years, the only way to access these invaluable historical records was to physically drive to an auxiliary National Archives building in Maryland and use one of a handful of terminals, all while submitting to being filmed by the agency in the off chance you were an enemy planning on using them for nefarious means. When we asked for a copy, the agency fell back on that argument, saying that it needed to keep track of everyone who accessed the records just in case they might be abused. Even after losing that one in court and being forced to make their archives public, which they claimed was their idea all along, the CIA liberally applies a need-to-know basis to nominally public records, reclassifying material it finds embarrassing or applying its sources and methods stamp so arbitrarily as to render the concept meaningless. While we at Muckrick like to highlight absurd examples of redactions and silly finds from the archives because, hey, a classified fudge recipe is funny no matter how you slice it, there's deeply serious motive at the heart of all our transparency work. Giving government agencies complete control over the public's knowledge of what they've done in our name even decades after the fact is to sign away one's history. Taking the CIA's argument to its logical conclusion, because bad people might benefit from knowing what the U.S. government has done, then it's in everyone's best interests for nobody to know, which is a violence to the very concept of transparency as a means of oversight. As I seriously joked yesterday on Twitter, those who cannot remember they are condemned to repeat it. Really annoying that stories on the JFK files are framed around conspiracy theorists. How about this info should NT be secret for 50 years? Pic.twitter.com Simdexer 28 Ka Trevor Tim at Trevor Tim October 26, 2017. Rather than tacitly taking the government's arguments that what's hidden should remain hidden at face value, we should take the Freedom of Information Act at its most literal and remind these agencies their records are in fact our records. And that if you're gonna claim every tasteless office prank is a matter of national security, it could and should hurt your argument for why it's not in the public's right to know. Especially 50 years after the fact. Thanks to Emma Best for her help with this piece. Image by Truth out via Flickr and licensed under Creative Commons BYSA 2.0.